the entire nation hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad in my camp.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money.
What's the point of here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
By a long way, of the World Cup. Spain 0, Cabo Verde 0. The resistance from Cabo Verde lasting all the way to the end. Lamine Yamal came on, Nico Williams came on, and the reigning European champions opened their World Cup as massive favorites, but managed to draw to this tiny nation playing in their first ever World Cup. An extraordinary game, guys, alongside Nadja Rio Coker and Troy Deeney. I'm Chris Whittingham. Guys, you were saying it, Nigel, you're absolutely spot on. This is what we love about football.
How can you not love that? This is the beauty of the game of football. You know, some people have many different, we look at it through so many different lenses. I look at that as an amazing achievement by one of the smallest nations participating in their first ever World Cup against one of the favourite nations to win this year's World Cup.
Joint favourite in the bookies.
Joint favourite in the bookies to win this World Cup. And come off with a 0-0 draw. And it wasn't just a performance of parking the bus and we're just going to sit and try and hold out as much as we can. There were elements where we saw them trying to take the game to Spain, trying to play counter-attacking football, even trying to play out the back with confidence and belief, and still come out with a 0-0 draw that no one can ever say they saw that coming. This is why I love football, because you could always dream, you can always achieve, and this is what makes football such a special sport and the best sport in the world. Love it.
Nigel the Romantic.
He's a lovely guy, isn't he?
I love it.
Nice. No, it gives me memories back to the opening game of the last World Cup with Saudi Arabia getting that draw with Argentina. And it just gives you that same sense, that same feeling of anything can happen. And we spoke about it in the half-time there. When you're the Cape Verde team, you sit there and you go, OK, well, our keeper's having a great day. They're getting very predictable. They're going to get more and more rattled, and they're going to have to try and be more expansive. Hopefully we can hit them on the counter-attack. In the last few minutes, it felt like they were going to nick it. How about we're sitting here watching the corner, and we're thinking, right, this is going to be the moment. We saw this game so many times in our careers, both as players and obviously in media, where you see a team hold out, and then all of a sudden they nick that corner. It's like 1-0. It's a smash and grab. But I thought they were very good. I was very impressed. For a first time watching them again, anyone who sits around and said, "Oh, I've been watching Cape Verde for 10 years," and I know they're lying. It's very difficult to find.
There are a few of us though who did watch them in the African Cup of Nations, and we were saying about how good they will be in the African Cup of Nations. I've been very pleasantly surprised from watching them from them.
Yeah,
but anyone else,
you're not going years back and saying this is a history of how they play and what they do.
You're not.
When you sit and watch it and understand it from this point of view, I thought Spain were very one-dimensional, very boring in what they were doing. Again, having 750 passes or however many passes they had in this one and no goals is pointless. The stats will read. If you don't watch the game and you just look at the stats, 20-yard shots, this, that, and the other, I'd say 75% of them were from 30 yards. 25, 30 yards. Hopeful shots, hoping that one goes in the top corner, and then we can build from there. If they're one of the favourites, I'm even more confident that England win it. If they're one of the favourites. Yeah. We've got so much more going forward, so much more as a team. Well, Spain were bang average today, Nigel, I thought. 100%,
and it shows, though, because we saw Lamine Yamal come on. We spoke about it at half-time. He had more of an impact in the first 3 minutes of being on the pitch than the entire Spanish team did for the whole first half. You talk about, again, the individual aspect of he is the best player in world football. The unpredictableness that he has, coming up on that left foot, coming in, looking for crosses, looking for a pass of significance. If you'd have started the game, maybe we'll have a different story. But again, it's easy to talk about Spain and criticise Spain. I think for me, the story of today is more about Cape Verde. I don't care what anyone says. We could say about Spain, oh, they didn't take their chances, they weren't clinical enough, not enough creativity. No, because I came from the underside of it. I know what it's like to be in that mindset of a Cape Verde. You don't coming from the big boy clubs. You're not coming from the shiny academies. You're coming from the roughness of coming through like a Wimbledon academy, and everyone's saying, oh, you're never going to be good enough. You're not good enough. And you prove people wrong. Mm-hmm. And you have that mindset to want to play against the best, to challenge yourself against the best. That is what they did today as a footballing nation today. They came up against Spain. There wasn't no fear. They didn't doubt themselves. And they come off in their first ever World Cup, taking a point away from World Cup winning Spain. Fantastic to them.
But just on that very, very quickly, when the ball went out to Lamine Yamal, Cape Verde, we're going to be fair to them and say they were great today, but they're not a massive footballing nation and one that we think is going to be a powerhouse towards the end of this competition. What did they do? Stuck 2 and 3. They made a little triangle of defenders. They said, right, you can get past one, but these two are going to have to come.
Straight away.
And the pass that gets them into Almo is that wonderful outside the foot pass. Sometimes you can't stop that. You have to go great. But if they're doing it and manage to keep Lamine Yamal relatively quiet for 45 minutes, what do you think everybody else is going to do? And I just think the rest of this Spanish team really needs to step up, because it feels to me like it's been very Barcelona dominant, obviously from a who's been selected. But then the second part to that is, well, what do they do at Barcelona? Give the ball to Lamine Yamal, say, go on, do something. It becomes very one-dimensional very, very quickly.
And Spain are going to have to figure out a lot. And for more on that, let's bring in Phil Kitcher-Melidis, our Spanish football expert. And Phil, this result will not go over well in Spain, as Troy mentioned, probably the favorite to win the competition, and they draw 0-0 against Cabo Verde on the opening day.
It's a massive, massive shock. It's a massive sort of bringing everyone down a little bit here in Spain, because people had got carried away, not least, your favourite Spanish football correspondent, who even put up a flag behind him and thought, yeah, let's go for it. Spain are good. The day was just really, really poor. I mean, I'll take issue with a couple of things you said about the statistics. Yes, the stats were very sort of towards Spain, favoured towards Spain. I mean, their XG expected goals was 2.23, so they created some actual quality chances, which they really should have put away. But you are right, this didn't feel like it was the Cabo Verde goalkeeper having the game of his life. He made some decent saves, but he didn't necessarily have to make the game of his life. By the way, I checked how much, how much do you think the Cape Verde goalkeeper is worth on transfer market? His current value before the game was 40 grand. I reckon that might have gone up by now.
Well, he's 40 years old, so there's not really much for it to go up.
No, there's no sell-on value, but even still, I think it might have added a little O onto it now after keeping out Spain today. But yeah, massive disappointment. Spain had talked themselves up. The Luis de la Fuente was saying, this is the best team in the world. I've got the best team in the world. I've got the best midfield in the world. And I think he's got a lot of things to do, actually, in terms of trying to figure out where to play those midfielders to get the best out of them, because Pedri was playing higher up the pitch where he used to play before. And if he plays further back, as he does with Barcelona, he can create more. So there's a lot of work for Spain to be done. And now if they finish second, there's a good chance they might meet Argentina in the first knockout round. So it's a disastrous result for Spain on all counts.
Phil, you brought up stats. First and foremost, that's the end of every argument with me. However, 27 shots, 7 on target. So that's where I was taking it from. The long pass shots. Again, to the feel what you're talking about with, it doesn't feel like the goalkeeper had an unbelievable day. It felt to me very slow, very methodical in the way that they played Spain. Very one-dimensional. As soon as Lamine Yamal came on, give him the ball, hope for some, and obviously he's great. But you need something more. And you're talking about Pedri being a bit higher. It feels a little bit, and I wonder what your take is on this, a little bit like, let's watch what Barcelona did. Let's try and recreate that.
Well, there are 8 Barcelona players in the Spain squad, so that might be something to do with it. Listen, talking about the lack of pace, and not just sort of running pace, but sort of moving the ball pace, and they were missing Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, and I know both of them played today, but neither of them are anywhere near being fully fit. You could see Lamine was trying to do stuff, and he did do some stuff when he came on, but he still wasn't at his full pace. And this is a team that thrives and relies on those 2 wingers. He likes Luis de la Fuente to have wingers out wide to be able to take people on in those kind of situations, and not just play the ball through the middle tiki-taka style. Those outlets on the wing are very important for them. I don't know why he started Gavi at left wing today. I genuinely don't. I'm going to go and listen to his press conference now and see if someone asked the manager why he started him, because I couldn't see it, and it didn't really work. And yeah, the plan B for Spain, Laporte was playing centre forward for the last sort of 5 minutes or so. It was really, really poor. The structure of the team was questionable. The preciseness as well. This is a team that should be able to pass the ball crisply. You expect them to, take chances and get them on target and work the goalkeeper at least. They didn't do that today. They did not do that today, and they've got a lot of margin for improvement in this competition.
Yeah, Phil, really quick for me before Nigel jumps in. I think the argument of the guys not being fully fit is lost when you put them on the pitch. I think we know with a bit as players, we understand that, again, you try to build up fitness, and some people are playing at 70%, maybe even 60%. But as soon as you come on and you're in the pitch, you have to perform. And Nico Williams looked miles off it, from my opinion.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And what's Nico Williams' sort of defining characteristic? His explosive pace and his ability to get past players. Take that away from Nico Williams, because he's not there yet. He was all right for 5 minutes today at the end of the game, but not to play for 90 minutes. And he is a much reduced threat down that left-hand side. So listen, they've got another 6 days now to try and rethink things, maybe tweak the starting 11, definitely tweak the starting 11, I think, and let's see how far away Lamine and Nico are from starting. But I do think that the position of Pedri in this side is something that I highlighted before the tournament started, because I think that's really, really key, to how they play. If he plays a little bit further up, yes, he's closer to the box, but you lose his creativity at the base of midfield, and I think we saw that. And when he dropped to play a little bit deeper, Spain looked a little bit better. So hopefully Luis de la Fuente will have seen that and will tweak things.
Phil, it's quite interesting you brought up the word tiki-taki. I described this Spain side before Lamine and Nico Williams' introduction into the national team, that was them. They became very predictable. They're going to keep possession. They're going to bore you to death with passing sideways and become very predictable. But then when Lamine and Nico Williams were introduced into the national side, they get the winger directness. Then all of a sudden we see a new style of Spain that everyone starts marveling at. And I think that now just shows how important these 2 players are to the national side, because they're the only 2 players who are kind of seen as outlined as something different to the norm or the foundation of the Spanish national team.
Yeah, 100%. I agree totally. And that's why those 2 players are so important. Listen, he played Ferran Torres on the right wing today. Ferran did actually start his career as a right winger with Valencia before becoming a more central forward. But he's not really an out-and-out winger. And as you know, go back to I mentioned Gavi. I'm not entirely sure why he put Gavi there. He's nowhere near being an out-and-out winger. He had other options. He could have played Jeremy Pino, could have played Victor Munoz, even could have played Danny Olmo, who is closer to a winger than Gavi is. So yeah, and the thing is, Nigel, you know, the importance of those two wingers. There's nobody that can really do what either of those two do in the squad. So if you don't have Lamine and Nico at 100%, you get a little bit what you saw today.
So we are obviously talking about without these two guys, we think they'll get fit over the course of the tournament. This ultimately is a team that has not lost a match since March of 2024. Are you worried that this result portends for the longer term that actually these are not the favorites, that this is a team that maybe has more weaknesses than we perceived coming into it?
Yay, Chris, they extended their unbeaten run to 31 games today. I'm sure they're going to be delighted about that. No, I mean, but it's true, they haven't lost. They're a team that don't necessarily lose too many games. They are difficult to beat. But can you look at them today and say that these are the favourites to win the World Cup? They're still, listen, they're still an exceptional team. And I think, you know, what we saw and what we've seen about Spain is that they're a unit. You look at the individuals, and then you look at other teams like, I don't know, France or Portugal or you know, other teams that have sort of standout brilliant players, and you're like, wow, that's real star power. Spain have got a few of those, but I think the general idea was that their strength is in the concept of how they play, the very clear idea, and that they're a great unit, a great team. I think, you know, today was a game that they should have won. Let's be honest, they should have won this game. They hit the bar. They got into positions where they could have worked the goalkeeper and could have scored, but they didn't. So I would say today is worrying, but I wouldn't go out and say, you know, we have to completely dismiss Spain as their World Cup chances. When they won the World Cup in 2010, they lost their first game to Switzerland. So I'm coming back to that, and that's my fountain of hope for Spain. But today, yeah, it was a big blow, and let's see, you know, if they qualify, where they qualify, and who they face in the knockout stages.
Yeah, Phil, we love you, mate. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't do it. Cape Verde, it's all about them. Spain, back to the drawing board. Love you, lad.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks for joining us.
Amazing for Cape Verde. Well done to them. Brilliant performance. Fantastic. Well done. See you later, lads.
Yeah, what a shock it is that Cape Verde get the draw, the point against Spain. Here a look at, of course, the difference between the two nations. Second in the FIFA rankings, of course, are Spain. Cabo Verde, 67th in terms of the squad value, courtesy of Transfer Market, 1.4 billion to 63 million, and of course that population size. By being at 500,000 people population, that is smaller than the population of Raleigh, North Carolina. And yet here they are, getting a point off of Spain at the World Cup. And for more on that disparity and just the incredible achievement of Cabo Verde, let's bring in Nico Cantor, of course, is going coast to coast, is outside the ground in Seattle, where the next match will be played between Belgium and Egypt. Nico, that was an extraordinary watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was, guys. And if I can at least lend you a perspective from somebody who followed the last World Cup champion very closely, who lost their first game, I want to turn my focus to the next game that Spain has and the extraordinary amount of pressure that they will have to beat Saudi Arabia. You say, well, Saudi Arabia, they should beat them. Well, they should have beat Cape Verde here. Listen, it's not worst case scenario because they did get a draw. Remember in 2010, they lost their first World Cup game against Switzerland in South Africa. And then they followed up a game against Honduras in Nelspruit. I was actually at that game. Spain took care of business and got back on track. And it's a matter of refocusing things. But you guys don't understand the pressure. I mean, you might, obviously, but it's. I think we need to drive home to the viewer the pressure cooker. As the minutes go by in that Saudi Arabia game and Spain don't get it done, how these players play with that in a group stage game. Messi's goal against Mexico out of the entire World Cup in Qatar 2022, I think that was the most celebrated goal by Argentina. Forget the goals in the finals. That goal meant so much because Argentina were facing a win or go home situation, basically.
So you've kind of talked about the perspective there from Spain. For a nation like Cabo Verde, and we talked about it yesterday after the Curaçao 7-1 defeat at the hands of Germany, the sort of idea of the underdog teams, how are they going to perform at the World Cup? This is justifying not only of the expansion of the tournament, but also for all of these nations to project themselves in football to go even farther, because anything is possible in a tournament like this.
Yeah, hey, football, Chris, isn't as easy as a bracket predictor. Everybody gave their scores. I want to meet the guy who said that Spain was going to draw against Cape Verde. Cape Verde is the smallest nation by area at the FIFA World Cup in its history. So the fact that they went toe-for-toe with Spain and kept them out, a team that many had as favorites to win the whole thing, is pretty remarkable. It serves as a moment of representation for Cape Verdeans in general, but even yesterday, right, that one goal by Curaçao against Germany, even if they lost 7-1, that goal is a justification for the expansion of the tournament, because you get to celebrate that goal in your language, a very unique language that had never been represented at the World Cup stage. So maybe for Cape Verde, they'll be singing about this draw for years to come.
It's an incredible result, and one that will be remembered through the course of history. It is one of those score lines that will get mentioned for years to come. Nico, we'll talk to you a bit more as we go on throughout the day about this match that you're at between Belgium and Egypt. Enjoy the game, sir.
Thank you, guys.
And, of course, one of the heroic performances from this game was the performance of the goalkeeper. These are the top-rated goalkeeping performances of the tournament, and top of the list is Vozinha, the keeper. He is 40 years of age. He played this season for Chaves in the Portuguese second division. And yet here he is at 40 years old, getting the start at the World Cup and turning in a man of the match and the best goalkeeping performance ahead of only Patrick Beach, who was brilliant for Australia against Turkey and making the 8 saves. But the goalkeeper had a lot to do in this game, particularly in that first half. He made 2 or 3 massive saves, and that is the formula of an upset like this. You have to defend doggedly, you have to take some chances to break, and your goalkeeper has to have a blinder.
Absolutely. You need it whenever you're the underdog. Your keeper has to have a good day. Your defensive shape has to be perfect, and today it was. They got so many bodies back. Again, the keeper made, 7 saves? But then on the flip side to that, just think back to that massive block from the centre-back, as almost got to put it into the far corner. So, again, it's a collective. For once, I don't disagree with SofaScore. Normally, I would have a big argument at them, but it's a fair assessment. And I thought the keeper was the best player on the pitch, by far.
Just to add a little bit more to what Troy said, because I had to play right back at times in my career. And when you know you've got a goalkeeper you can trust behind you, when you're that last line of defence, when you're playing in that back line, and someone makes a mistake, which is always going to happen as players, and then your keeper comes and pulls a big save, and then another big save, that only just adds more confidence and belief to you as a back line, as your defenders, that this is going to be our day. And that's what happens to that Cape Verde team today. When you talk about your keeper pulling out your save, you already know you're facing top quality opposition in the likes of Spain. So you know it's already going to be a hard game. It's not going to be easy. This is the best of the best. This is what it gets. This is the top 1% of footballers you're going to face. And your goalkeeper starts making save, that only adds more belief to you as a defenders. And then even then, it gives you that extra adrenaline rush and push that he's having a great game. We have to step up as well, which adds to what Troy said about that great block that they had in the last minute from the defender, just putting his body in the line in the dying minutes of the game. It's all a collective unit and a collective effort.
And it is worth noting the story of that defender, Pico Lopez, who's in the center of defense. He is 33 years of age. He's a defender for Shamrock Rovers and has lived in Ireland. And the way that he got into the national team was the manager of Cape Verde reached out to him via LinkedIn in Portuguese and said, would you like to play for the Cape Verde national team? This player, Pico Lopez, thought it was like spam. He didn't even bother to read it. He was like, well, what the hell is this? 9 months later, the same coach reaches out to him in English and says, no, that was a real offer. Are you interested in playing for us? And so here he is now at the World Cup at 33 years of age and is kind of a hero in Ireland as a result. Obviously, Ireland not at the tournament. They came very close. But he's kind of a hero because, oh, this is our guy who's playing at the World Cup. And yet there he is making a massive play. Was it Oyarzabal who won the header in the air? That forced that clearance. It was absolutely sensational. But that is one of the many kinds of those stories. Every country's looking for players in the diaspora, and yet here is, for Cape Verde, a heroic moment coming from a player found on LinkedIn Absolutely insane. Now, coming up next, we'll continue to react to this one. An extraordinary match between Cabo Verde and Spain. It finishes 0-0 in Atlanta. Trouble coming for Spain.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon? When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready? Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me. Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events. It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. With the entire nation hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Tell me, can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad in my camp.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money.
What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
This is Golazo Matchday, and so much conversation about some of the great all-time teams who have won the World Cup. And we want to talk about some of the best teams, or at the very least, some of the best collections of talent that have gone far in the tournament but did not eventually go on to win it. Some of the best individual teams. And with Belgium playing today at the World Cup, we want to talk first about the Belgium golden generation, that 2014 team that played against the United States. Of course, had that famous moment. Chris Wondolowski almost won the game. But this is the team from back to front. There's a ton of talent here, guys, and they didn't eventually go on to win it.
For me, it's frightening. This is one of those when you think, what could have been? Again,
yeah.
We're going to go into more detail here, obviously, but let's look at the bench.
Yeah.
Mignolet, obviously, Lukaku. You've got
a young Lukaku.
Yeah,
I mean, this was when Adnan Januzaj, when you thought he was going to be something at Man United.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
The whole team there, just the bench is crazy. But when you look to this back line, again, started in the Premier League every single week, was obviously a legend. It still is a legend, arguably the best goalkeeper.
Even at that point there, he was still the best goalkeeper in the world at that point.
Vinny Kompany, we know, is about Vertonghen. And again, obviously, these two played together at Spurs. Fellaini was a joke. Witsel was unbelievable. And again, Kevin De Bruyne was obviously still playing. Eden Hazard in his pomp. When you start to look at this team, it makes you think, how?
Yeah.
It's harder to do what they did, which was to not be successful.
Yeah.
When you have this much talent and this much available options off the bench. Again, even Origi, just stick to the goals he scored at his time at Liverpool. Champions Leagues and all of that. So they had big game players. And for me, this was not only the golden generation, but the what-if generation.
I think I would say for me, this is the golden generation. This is the generation that should have won it to Belgium. There was so much talk leading up to this World Cup and everything, and the team that they had. And again, I would argue, at the time, Company, one of the best centre-backs in the world already at that point. Courtois, for me, I would say, is probably one of the best goalkeepers at that point. Eden Hazard was probably the best player in the world at that point. Kevin De Bruyne was already making waves. I think, for me, you had enough pieces there that they should have won the World Cup, that this was the golden generation of Belgium.
I think to double down on it, I don't think we'll see another generation of Belgian players like this in my lifetime.
To have that amount of players.
It's not a nation with this massive tradition, and it's a small country. To get it all to come together at the same time, it felt like the moment, but it also kind of felt like it came from nowhere. And I think one of the things about the World Cup, there's only 8 countries who've ever won it. You kind of have to build that level of tradition over time in order to get to that place where you can go on to win it. But Belgium ultimately couldn't do it. They also had a good team in 2018. They beat Brazil in the knockout round and got to a semifinal, but ultimately Belgium coming up short and winning the World Cup. Now, we kind of want to talk about some of the few other notable modern squads who have not won the World Cup as well. And we are going to move next to England 2002. A group of players you guys would certainly be familiar with. And there was always the problem. How do you get Gerrard and Lampard in the same team? That was sort of a later problem, but this is a pretty solid team as well, guys.
This was it. This, for me, I felt was the team that was going to do it. Sven-Göran Eriksson, really good manager. Not the type that's going to shout on a hairdryer treatment. The first time kind of England went in a kind of different direction when you talk about managerial style. But for me, this squad was just more than capable. Again, you just look at the starting lineup, some of the legends in the game, probably arguably the best centre-back pairing at that time that probably England have ever had. You know, Rio Ferdinand can do the physical aspect, jump, good with the ball in his feet. Sol Campbell was just a reader of the game, natural. Paul Scholes, best passer in the world, one of the best passers in the world at that time. For me, Emil Heskey and Michael Owen, big man, little man combination. Kind of like me and Troy, I'm the big man, he's the little man here. Talk about old school football. But this, for me, I felt was it. And then it's also, again, like Troy always points out, it's the bench as well. You look at players and quality. Owen Hargreaves, Teddy Sheringham,
Gareth Southgate, Wayne Bridge, Wes Brown, Robbie Fowler. Like you start, Cole is on there as well. When you start looking at this team, and the thing that really frustrated me with the England team, this is a team that I grew up watching, whether it be at school or a little bit older when I left school. We always had this thing where it's like, oh, we've got to play the 2 guys from Man United. Yeah. When you look back now, and obviously hindsight is a wonderful thing, we had 2, 3, and sometimes 4 players for every position on the pitch. You talk about Heskey and Owen. You talk about Cole there. That's Joe Cole, obviously. You had the Rice Vassell, ex-Aston Villa, pace and power, exactly as quick as Michael Owen. Probably not got the ability that Michael Owen had. But Teddy Sheringham was one of the smartest footballers we've ever seen.
Best finishers.
Robbie Fowler, arguably the best finisher as well. And you think back now, to those times, and you think to now, David Seaman, arguably one of the best goalkeepers around for his generation.
England, yeah.
David James, Martin, all 3 of them playing week in, week out, the best in their position. And we had the opportunity to, and it just felt like, what if? We kept getting in our own way, didn't we? Like, this is more your generation. It's
just the thing about England is, and it's also from the younger age group, you know, there's always that conversation about the divide, about the Man United clique, the Chelsea clique. And we've seen recently when Stevie Gerrard came and spoke about it, that now he finds it fascinating that some of these players talk to each other like they're friends, when it wasn't really like that. I experienced it in my younger days of coming through the system at a younger level where there was a bit of that. But in our generation in the 21s, we kind of changed that. We really got together. And once or twice one time when I got into the senior squad, in the pre-World Cup squad on Sven-Göran Eriksson, I did kind of notice that. I did notice there is this kind of divide, and there wasn't really a collective unity that you see in other nations. And I think sometimes that is what stops England. And even to this day now, whether it's the players or the press plays a part in it, which is why, again, I'll make this point. Southgate's in this squad. Gareth Southgate went to manage England. One of his biggest thing about managing England was collective togetherness. Forgets what's happening at your club, which is only something that he got from his time, his experience in the national setup, to say that this could be a reason why we don't go all the way. He changed the dynamic, got us to 2 major finals because of that, building that togetherness that other nations have, that England never seemed to have had And I think that plays a part. And again, until we really get together and leave the whole club rivalry out and realise we're here for the same badge, representing the same nation, forget all of that, one common goal, then England will be successful.
Well, I will say that Southgate, as you said, deserves a lot of credit for having fixed that problem. And coincidentally, their results have upturned massively over the course of the last 4 major tournaments. Just haven't quite been able to get over that line.
And now the Germans got to ruin it, so it's fine.
Well, Jordan Henderson's here to save the day. Okay. All right, let's move to one of the other, probably the best nation that has never won the World Cup. That, of course, being the Netherlands. And there's 3 teams we can pick from. The 1974 team, who at the time defined football, has sort of defined a generation of football with the philosophy of total football. Runners-up as well in 1978. Had a fantastic team in 1998 and also in 2010. But we wanted to focus on the 1998 team because this is sort of like a perfect generation for you guys and sort of your football watching primes.
Yeah, again, the problem we have, when you go through those older teams there, unfortunately, we wasn't around. Nigel was playing, but... You know.
I'll just listen.
All right, go on.
Jaap Stam.
Yeah.
Van der Sar.
Frank de Boer next.
Davids. Frank de Boer. Overmars.
Kaku.
Bergkamp.
Ronald de Boer.
Listen, that is for me. You look at the bench as well with the players that they got. Bogart, mate. Hasselbank. We just had Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as well. Speak to him as well. Zedorf. This for me is just massive fan of the Netherlands. But when it comes to the reality aspect of it, they are the biggest failures internationally when it comes to winning a tournament. Because the players we're talking about, they're not just good players. These are legends. I would say this, I'll go on a limb. Dennis Bergkamp is the most technically gifted player football has ever seen. And we will never see another Dennis Bergkamp. When you talk about technical ability, I have not seen a player as technically gifted.
Better than Messi?
As Dennis. Technically gifted, Dennis Bergkamp is still, for me, one of the best. It's different styles because Messi always has the ball in his feet running. But technical ability, I'm talking about every aspect of ball juggling, lifting over players' heads and volleys. There's not been another Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, well, for me as well, everything Nigel says there, plus a little bit more, to be totally honest with you. When you can change the team the way that they did, obviously you have Bergkamp, and also, you know, the big thing about it is when you think to the Dutch way, how many youth teams have been structured off the Dutch way of playing now? When you look at Ajax and then everybody else,
several generations,
that. Then you look at Johan Cruyff, look at his lineage of of coaches that have come after him, and then to think that this Dutch team has never won the World Cup is
the nation,
scary because everyone has been copying them for years, for decades now, trying to be the Dutch way, and that's why to me it's always been a little bit crazy when you think of the players, the names that you see there, how they have never ever won a World Cup.
Yeah, the Netherlands have always been that team, and we saw it as well in their opener against Japan, where it looks great on a sheet of paper, and they have a philosophy, but sometimes that philosophy just isn't enough to get them over the line. And now it sort of becomes a mental block for them, where everyone defines them as the best team to have never won it, and that sort of is going to be the burden that they carry for years to come.
The difference with this team, though, that I would say compared to the team now, is they got goal scorers there. They've got Dennis Bergkamp, they've got Overmars would come with goals. Obviously, Kaku would score as well, but Hasselbank was a goal scorer. Van Hooijdonk was a goal scorer. They had Seedorf in there as well. So you had goals all over the team. When I watched the game yesterday, I was like, it's got to have to come from the wide areas. I was looking through the middle of the pitch, and I'm like, I don't really see it. I know they got a few guys out injured, the likes of Xavi Simons, but the rest of it is going out to Gakpo. He's cutting in, he's shooting. Somerville coming in on the left-hand side, which ultimately ends up being...
Marlon is more of a runner than he is.
Exactly. And I know Marlon's done well in Serie A, but it's because his profile suits that. Serie A try to stay high. They don't like the little slip balls down the side. I think in this moment, this team should have been better because of the goals.
I think Bromby's probably the only one now you could say maybe could start as a striker, maybe cause some problem, bit of a physical. But I love the fact that Troy brings that up because I was thinking the same thing because I had a conversation with yesterday when we talked about this Dutch side. You do say you worry about the goals. You talk about historically what this nation has produced, goal scorers. The same as Germany, historically produced great legendary goal scorers. They don't have it no more. And if you want to take it another level as well, you look at Italy. Italy were renowned for producing amazing defenders. And now they've gone away from that and don't produce amazing defenders. So it's also about how nations and the game has evolved so much that some of the foundations we've seen from some of these great nations, they've gone away from that now, not producing the same legendary players or players.
The only thing I would say that that is different. I understand you with the Italian aspect, but with the Netherlands aspect, football is still being played the way that Johan Cruyff wanted it to be played.
Yeah.
So they've had the blueprint from the start.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they've had the blueprint for 52 years.
Yeah,
and they haven't won it.
For some reason, it seems to be it's getting worse now as opposed to getting better. But yeah, a massive opportunity and an unbelievable team. When I watch things watch screens like this and I see the names of the players, it just makes me remember why I enjoy football.
And I mean, the thing though with the Netherlands, you sort of mentioned that philosophy. They now have a team. We were talking about it yesterday. Their average height is 6 foot. They might be better served playing a more vertical game, but the Dutch philosophy is the Dutch philosophy, and they kind of have to play that way.
They have to. I mean, they've always been technical, wanting to play on the ground again, but it's also the evolution of the game now that some of these players and these clubs want big players. So the technical aspect of it, the technically gifted players are not getting as much opportunity, where from the younger generation of these coaches, they'll overlook a small player, he's not big enough, because they're already starting to think ahead about the physicality aspect of all the set pieces. How many of these good players now are not making it because of how some of these molds of players?
50s, smaller, 30s, taller.
Winding me up.
Of course, the two are always winding each other up. We have much more match day to come here on the Golazo Network. More World Cup coverage on the way.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me. Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events. It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days, but the entire nation hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Tell me, can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money.
What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Spain 0, Cabo Verde 0, without doubt the shock result of the World Cup so far, and we do see some positive ratings, and I imagine a lot of this is completed passes, movements in possession, even some shots as well. Statistically, it might look great for Pedri, it might look great for Rodri and Laporte as well, but it doesn't end up in the back of the net. It doesn't particularly matter from a Spain standpoint, and you can see it certainly in the ratings for that forward line. Yamal doing his best in a quarter of an hour. Nico Williams came on 87 minutes and had about 8 minutes to make an impact and couldn't really. I think that's probably the story of the game, isn't it, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that front three is clearly where the problems lay. Very one-dimensional, very one-paced. Again, Torres has normally been played through the middle for Barca of late, but he did start as a wide right, so it's a bit disappointing to see him not really be able to impact the game enough. And then, you know, the guys who came off the bench, okay, but I think that's what it sums it up. It was an okay game against a poor Cape Verde team on paper. However, Cape Verde played well.
100%.
Spain didn't.
I mean, Oyarzabal for me is a crazy one. The stat was what? First 30 minutes he had 1 touch.
0 touches.
0 touches in 30 minutes. Sorry,
yeah.
0 touches in the first 30 minutes of it. What are you doing on a pitch if you have not touched the ball in 30 minutes of football in a World Cup at international level? That makes no sense to me. Gavi started. I think obviously Dani Olmo for me is a player that probably should have started, but it's hard to disagree with those scores there. The front three, the front line was a bit of a problem for Spain, and they got it wrong today.
And Spain have a lot to figure out before they play against Saudi Arabia on Sunday, again in the same stadium in Atlanta. But let's get more on this Cabo Verde story with this incredible result for this incredibly small nation that qualifies for the World Cup for the first time. Let's bring in our African football expert, Mimi Fawaz. And Mimi, we can talk about this in terms of transfer market value or in terms of population size, but can you tell us a bit about the story of this nation and how remarkable it is, the result they achieved today?
Yeah, for some people, they're probably just discovering Cabo Verde, Cape Verde. I guess some people pronounce it whichever way you pronounce it. But it's a nation that this is not a fluke. They put a structure in place over the past few years to actually get to this place, to get to the World Cup after doing well at not the last Africa Cup of Nations, but the one in Cote d'Ivoire where they reached the quarterfinal. So Cabo Verde have really put in the work to try and get there. This is a country that's just over 500,000, the population on the west coast of Africa that doesn't really have much of a league. They've had to rely on mostly the diaspora players to recruit them to actually get to this stage. And they've recruited players, as you know, Pico Lopez on LinkedIn a few years back. That's how they recruited their players from the diaspora. So I think for such a nation making such a big statement on their first ever World Cup, their debut match, to actually get a goalless draw against one of the tournament favorites.
Mimi, I thoroughly agree with you, and I love the fact you're educating our viewers, because I actually did start to really engage a lot more in this Cape Verde team. Like you said, when he was going into that African Cup of Nations, to say, you know what, there's something special about it. So I am not surprised at all with the performance they put in today, and I'm glad that you're someone who is in the same agreement as me. How important is it for Cape Verde to do well in the World Cup, to show what can be achieved for other African nations if they implement the structure in pace like they're doing, and also like the likes of Morocco and Senegal and Ivory Coast have done? And you talk about other big nations who don't seem to have that infrastructure.
It's worth noting, Cabo Verde were in the qualifying group with Cameroon.
Yeah.
And they automatically advanced to the World Cup.
Mimi, if you know what the question was in all of that dialogue, then that'd be great. What was the question?
I got it, don't worry. I got the question
Mimi,
that Nigel was trying to ask. I think countries like Morocco, countries like Cabo Verde are really showing African nations, even Senegal, I would say, Senegal as well, put in a structure in place, a 10-year plan a few years back, that if you're serious African countries to really develop the game, you can see already in the past few matches of the African teams that have played how much talent there is on the continent, but you need to have proper structures in place, proper planning in place. And if a country, one of the smallest nations at the World Cup, like Cabo Verde, can actually show the world we're not underdogs. People expected us to be afraid. We're not really, putting them in the equation to do very well. Everybody was talking about Spain as one of the favorites. They would beat them coming into the game. And they've shown them, no, we're a serious nation. We're serious about moving forward and investing. So I think they're great blueprints for the rest of Africa, many other countries, to actually follow follow in their footsteps.
Mimi, just also to give the audience a little education and geography lesson, just let them know where Cape Verde is located. I know it's the most western island off the west coast of Africa, and also the connection to a European nation, just so that the viewers will understand the history of Cape Verde a little bit.
Yeah, so it's off the west coast of Western Africa. Just if you look at, you see Senegal, Gambia, and if you look further out, you'll see, you know, island nations, archipelagos, that makes up Cape Verde. So that's where the country is based. And of course, there are flights that go there, as you were speaking about, from Europe. You know, you can get airlines from France and etc., Spain, to get to the country.
And Mimi, let's talk a bit about another major headline today from the world of African football, and that is after Tunisia lost 5-1 last night in Monterrey to Sweden, they have fired their manager, Sabri Lamouchi, and they're going to make a change from within the tournament. Now, we saw this chaos at the, not the most recent Africa Cup of Nations, but the one before that with Ivory Coast, who then went on a run after making a mid-tournament sacking of their manager. What do you make of this wild story after just the one game sacking their coach?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised, to be honest. You know, I didn't expect in the first game for them. I know they weren't happy with the result, the 5-1 defeat to Sweden, to replace Sabri Lamouchi so quickly. Now, he's a coach, obviously, who took over in January, coming into the World Cup. He's also a coach that's familiar with Africa. He's coached Côte d'Ivoire before, but it is a surprise. I mean, I think it just shows you that the Tunisian Football Federation are like, if we can't get those results, we're at the World Cup, you're going to go. We're not going to wait. And they were not impressed. But I think Tunisia, for me, coming into the competition, were not one of the strongest African teams when you look in terms of the teams that are going to go through. I personally did not bill Tunisia to go through to the next round. But that's not to say that there cannot be surprises in the World Cup. People were talking about Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Morocco coming into this competition. Tunisia were not one of the countries that was slated on that bill.
Yeah, just one of the things I was reading a little bit earlier was suggesting that there was some arguments beforehand with the organisation and the federation and the manager. To me, it seems a little bit counterintuitive to get rid of him now. You're better off letting him kind of embarrass himself over the 3 games, then making a change, right? Or making the change before you've even got here, because this just had so much chaos to the players now. Because if a new manager comes in or a new coach comes in, could be new style, could be new training methodologies, and you've got 2 games to try and save your World Cup. It just seems like Tunisia have kind of shot themselves in the foot here.
Well, I guess some people think you can do an Emirates Faye, as we saw during the Africa Cup of Nations, you know, that was held in the country Côte d'Ivoire, where they replaced their coach in the group stages. And we saw they went on to win the competition. So I guess for Tunisia, maybe they felt the result just wasn't good enough for them. The performance wasn't good enough for them. They weren't going to gamble to see how the next few games were going to go. As you said, that possibly causes some instability within the team. But I guess the federation felt from what they saw, they just saw enough, that they just didn't feel that they had faith in him to carry on for the rest of the tournament.
Mimi Fouad is our African football expert. A couple of big stories already in this World Cup surrounding the African nations. Cabo Verde getting the result. Tunisia already firing their coach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, coming up next, we're looking ahead to the 3 o'clock kickoff in the World Cup between Belgium and Egypt. That's next.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me. Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events. It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. But the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money.
What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
40-second question.
This is Matchday, and here on the platforms of CBS, you can watch some of the best players for Belgium play on our network. Thibaut Courtois in the Champions League, Charles Ketelade for Atalanta in Serie A, and of course, Jeremy Doku in the UEFA Champions League for Manchester City. So many players that you can watch week in, week out play for their clubs. This is what it looks like in terms of the starting 11. A lot of those guys we just showed you are in the 11. Courtois, De Bruyne, Ketelade, Doku off that left. Trossard for Arsenal starts off that right side. What do you think of the team, guys?
Great team. For me, I think, again, Courtois, best goalkeeper in the world. Some might even argue for probably one of the greatest ever goalkeepers. Doku had a good season at Manchester City. He's starting to add more to his game now, more of a better end product and scoring goals. Kevin De Bruyne, we know the quality he has, hadn't a great season in Serie A with injuries. And Trossard, for me, had a real strong finish to the back end of the season for Arsenal. That, for me, is probably their strength. CDK is not a natural striker, so look for a lot of interchange and movement with that front three and CDK there.
And we move then to Egypt, and they're starting 11. Really two big names. A lot of people out there would recognize Omar Marmoush, the Manchester City man up front, and the currently clubless birthday boy, Mohamed Salah. Today is indeed his birthday, and he'll start off that right side, Troy.
Yeah, again, a lot of this will be now go to Salah, but trying to use him intermittently, right? He's not the player of before, 34 years of age today. Happy birthday to him. But again, for me, Marmoush is the key. He's got the pace, he's got the power, he can run in behind, but he also likes to drift out onto that left-hand side. It'll be important for Zico then to take the gap inside. But they've also got some players on the bench as well, the likes of Trezeguet, obviously once of Aston Villa. They could all help out as well. So a really intriguing game, this one. I can't pick them. I should say on paper, Belgium win 4-5-0. But it just doesn't really feel that way.
And Belgium have very rarely been able to do that in terms of make that talent translate to a really high level. They've sort of been one of the underachieving countries at the World Cup. Let's move then to our... So during the World Cup, there are always these trends that people pick out, and there's always the dogs that successfully predict World Cup matches. This is one that someone has pointed out on Twitter. Ivory Coast became the first team in the World Cup to win while having fewer bird species than their opposition. And you see Mexico against South Africa, South Korea against Czechia. All these sides have had more natural resource than their opponents. So we saw as well Spain losing or drawing, I guess. It's still not yet a victory. And so I guess based off of this statistical trend, it is Belgium that's going to get the result. Uruguay will beat Saudi Arabia and Iran to beat New Zealand. So you're always trying to figure out ways to get a statistical edge based off of the trends in the World Cup. Let's bring in, perhaps maybe this information is valuable to our gambling expert. Buckets, it's time to make our predictions for this one. Buckets, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, I've used a lot of different techniques and superstitions and things like that. I've never once looked at bird species, so maybe that's why I missed all my Spain bets today. Maybe that was what happened.
Today. Maybe that starts today.
Is that how you got the 7-1 yesterday?
Yeah, I just looked at 7 birds outside and said, yeah, that's good enough.
What kind of birds were they, mate?
I can't name 7 birds. I have no idea. Blue ones, red ones, all the good ones.
Buckets, we get to our predictions on this one. How much of a bath was the Spain game? I imagine it's a disaster for gamblers.
Disaster for me specifically, but also all gamblers. 97% of money was on Spain in that matchup. So whatever 3% knew that Cape Verde was going to pull something off, I guess congrats to you guys. You knew something that everyone else didn't.
All right, so move then to this game here with Belgium taking on Egypt. And for every game we've been trying to do, pick the result and pick someone to either score or assist. So what have you gone for in this one?
I'm going for Belgium to win this. I think they win. I don't want to say easily, but if they play remotely as good as they've been playing recently, they should put up 2 or 3 goals here. But I wanted to be a bit cheeky with my to score or assist. I'm not going to take the easy one, Doku, here. I'm going to go with Omar Marmoush to score or assist, parlay together. Gets you plus 750, almost 8-1 odds. I'm a Bundesliga guy, so I still have fond memories of him at Frankfurt just tearing through people. I want to see him show up in a big way today and make sure to help Salah make something happen for Egypt.
I mean, Buckets, you and I completely agreeing on this one. That is the exact same game parlay that I have gone for as well. What do you guys think in terms of result and goal scorer or assister in the game?
Well, I went for the easy route, as Buckets said there. I went for the Doku to score an assist, and I do see also a Belgium win.
And that pays out at around plus 250. Troy?
Yeah, and I went for Kevin De Bruyne. I think he had a difficult year at Napoli. Also, I think when a player comes out talking about the ex-manager of Conte and how he had a difficult time, he now has to prove himself, right? He can't have all these things to say, then have a real poor time for his national team. So I think Kevin will have a massive game today. That's why I've gone for him as well.
He also talked about the fact that the style was not really to his liking at Napoli, so maybe he can play a better kind of football here with the Belgian national side. Buckets, what else do you have for this one in terms of predictions?
Just for the sake of education, I want to tell people that if you like a money line bet, there's different ways you can play it. Right now, Belgium on the money line is hovering minus 200, which isn't great value, but Belgium to score 2 or more goals in that game gets you to minus 110, minus 120 range. If you think that Belgium's going to win, but you don't want to eat the juice, but you also think they're going to score goals, that's how I would play it. I've got Belgium winning this one 2-1, 3-1. I think we see both teams scoring here, but I just think Belgium have too much firepower right now.
I agree with that, mate.
Before any of this, can I just say, your hair looks fantastic today, Buckets. There's a lot of effort got into that. Well done, sir.
It's more effort in the hair than the bets at this point, it feels like. This has been an absolute mess to deal with.
Yeah,
is that your office,
mate? To the wrong side. It's sort of the coif going the other way. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, this is actually my bedroom. My bed is right there, and I've got my studio set up kind of in the same place here, but it works.
Nice,
Let's get
mate.
the job done.
Go look out the window, man. Go look at more birds, geezer.
I'll do that. Go find some pretty birds for you guys.
Yeah, some different kinds of species. Well, that'll be part of our 5 p.m. preview after this one. Enjoy the game between Belgium and Egypt. To stay with us, there's plenty more. World Cup coverage is coming up on the Golazo Network.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me. Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events. It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. With the entire nation hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.